Welcome to the Aegance Offscript Podcast, where we talk to industry leaders who share their stories, insights, and lessons unfiltered and unscripted. I'm your host, Lawrence, and today I'm thrilled to be joined by Raheel Ahmad, the co-founder of Virtuans AI. Now, Virtuans is building a new kind of operational backbone, AI agents that don't just answer questions, but step in as true digital teammates across sales and customer engagement. In a world where speed, precision, and constant availability defines the winners, their approach to an AI-first operation lands right at the center of how modern businesses need to evolve. Raheel, it's great to have you on.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. Happy to be here.
So I've positioned Virtuans to a certain degree, but there's no better person than yourself to give us a little bit more context around Virtuans, what it is that you're doing, what are your areas of operations.
So with the rise of agentic AI, we have seen a lot of shift in the market where the talent density and the human resource has become really expensive. And so we've been looking into areas which is human dependent and it scales with humans. And we're just trying to build automations that we believe LLMs can really impact. So our thesis is actually pretty simple. We are taking a very vertical approach within a specific industry. And sales we see as a big cost center for a lot of companies. So we're building AI workers that will eventually operate or augment the employees within the sales department to handle sales end-to-end from initial contact to closing. And one of the biggest areas that we're focusing on right now is real estate. Now, real estate, everyone wants to invest in it. I'm based in Dubai. It's a huge, huge sector. And so we're building AI employees that will specifically, at the end of the day, will handle the sales process end to end for our customers. Now, the question is, why is that important? And I think we've had multiple conversations with industry leaders in this when we were trying to figure out what the niche is going to be. And that is mainly because the sales is a process. Whatever is the process, that is where agentic AI or generative AI has a lot of value. So that is what we're doubling down on. And our vision is actually pretty simple. We want to eventually build an AI employee that real estate brokerages, developers can hire, and it can run their entire sales process end to end without any human intervention. That's what the North Star is for us.
Super interesting. And when you think about your role as the co-founder, how do you frame your decision-making philosophy as the company grows into a broader enterprise audience?
Yeah, I think I'm the CEO of the company. And my responsibilities are figuring out where the buck is moving. And I need to be there before the buck gets there. That's number one. The second is my responsibility includes talking to a lot of my customers and just diving into their operations to figure out where the opportunities are. So for example, we are using this approach that was made famous by Palantir, which is forward deployed engineers. So my role is kind of like a forward deployed engineers where I spend a lot of time with customers, not only in their single department, but with cross departments, talking to leaders there and identifying how it all connects to build a solution that at the end of the day solves the problem that we're trying to solve. And since it's very process oriented, so I have to go out there and talk to multiple different departments, understand how data is being shared, understand how processes are being shared so that we can build something end to end. So these are two strategic initiatives that I handle within the company.
And how are you able to balance, let's call it conviction with experimentation? The idea that you're convinced that this is going to work, but you also need to experiment to make sure that you can deliver on the conviction.
I think pre-LLM world, where you did not have cursor, where you could not build prototypes really quickly, a lot of the experimentation had to be backed by a lot of data, right? So you had to go in the market, do a lot of market research, and only then when you had a little bit of conviction, you could experiment. But now what we've seen in the market is that experimentation has become kind of like a commodity, right? So you have a hypothesis. Instead of going out and talking to customers and gathering data, what you can do is you can build prototype really quickly, show it to customers and see if it resonates with them. It's easier said than done because the prototyping approach that we take, it's experimentation first. And that's what we've seen leads to better products. And at the end of the day, it doesn't get us stuck in analysis paralysis. which is one of the biggest things that we have seen, because speed at the end of the day is a competitive advantage for anyone who's building LLMs or who's building agentic AI. So we try to, it's for us, it's 80% experimentation and 20% just, gathering data and building hypotheses. And we just do that by talking to customers and identifying and observing their processes very closely. Because the problem is, the reason why we went to experiment first approach was when we talk to a lot of people, they have a lot to say. A lot of people have a lot of ideas, but that doesn't mean it's a need for them, right? So sometimes you just get like a lot of these false signals, and you're unable, and then you spend a lot of time building something on that false signal, right? So how do you mitigate that effect? Which is where we focus more on experimentation first, based on very minute little signals that we get by observing the processes of these customers, like firsthand, and then we go into the experimentation approach. But with LLMs, everyone in our company codes, and everyone is expected to code, even if you're product, even if you're sales. That's completely fine. You need to know how to use Cursor or Lovable to build like small little prototypes.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. And I think that segues quite nicely into my next question
Yeah.
is around, you say AI first operations, but what does that mean in practice for how your team thinks,
Yeah.
builds, and executes?
Yeah, I think like pre-AI world, when LLMs or agentic AI was not there, just think about how you used to make decisions. Like, for example, I'll give you example within our product department. Our product department used to go do a lot of research. And the research would take like a week. They would go schedule interviews and they'll talk to customers, gathering insights, and then they'll come back, build a PRD, you know, debate on the PRD, and then we go into design and the whole shebang. What is happening now is that we're using AI, especially voice calls, to automate the user research part of it. Now, I don't have time I can't take 5 different calls in parallel, but the AI can. So if we have like 50 users that we shortlist, we send them an email that if you want to participate and talk to us, our AI makes the call and gathers that data for us. And that's like live data that the AI is gathering. Secondly, we invest a lot in Gemini, tools like Claude, Deep Research, and we put a lot of money in identifying how do we prompt these LLMs to get us the information that we're looking for. So in terms of deep research, we deploy a lot of AI solutions, and then you get these user insights, and then we feed that back into the LLM, which creates the PRD and the designs for us. Now, pre-AI era, this would take months to get it done. But now you can ramp everything up within 3 or 4 days with a lot of conviction. And so this is what we believe what AI first operations are, wherever you can use the power of LLMs or these agentic AI tools to speed up the process to gather something. That is where I think you become an AI first organization working from first principles. So that's how our product department works. Our sales happens the same way. Pre-AI era, you had automations on LinkedIn, you had like sequences on email, you had to like use some other third-party tools to gather like real-time data. But now what is happening is the AI is going out, building the ICP. We just feed the ICP in, it automatically goes out, researches contacts for us, get them from third-party tools like Apollo, does deep research on that specific prospect, identifies the area of value, then automatically crafts an email. LinkedIn follows up automatically. The goal is to get a qualified booking. So do I really need salespeople or junior salespeople to do that task? No, right? So that's how we are leveraging AI in different parts of our operations, and that's what we see is becoming an AI first operating principles.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. I mean, it's really down to efficiency, right? Being able to have a far better, far quicker output at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think if I think about this, it's mainly about man hours, right? If I have to get something done, efficiency is one, but if I get the wrong answer, what is the point of efficiency? So efficiency needs to be connected with the efficacy of it, the accuracy of it. So you have to, so thinking in terms of man hours and then providing the knowledge that you're actually looking for, I think these are very important critical skills that people need to, through prompting They need to get the LLM to do the job. And then how do you manage those hallucinations and stuff like that? That's where the training of the individual comes in. So, you know, depending on man hours and depending on how you balance efficiency with accuracy, I think these are two principles that you have to manage. If you do them, then automatically the results are much more positive versus I can say something to ChatGPT, what if it hallucinates the entire thing, right? I get the result in like 10 minutes rather than 2 days, but the result is wrong, right? So what is the point of efficiency there? So you have to value accuracy above everything, which is where I think a lot of organizations that we speak to find the problem. Like it's AI is accurate 95% of the time, 5% of the time it's not, and that 5% is the one that matters, right? So that's how we think about we take our time in making sure the results are super, super accurate.
What you mentioned about prompting is so crucial, and then setting guardrails in place to make sure that those hallucinations are minimized. I mean, I think it's
Yeah.
very tough to remove them completely, but to minimize it. But then
Yeah.
the requirement to have a human in the loop at certain stages of that sales outreach or the product side of things. I mean, I'm quite interested to understand, and this is maybe more of a philosophical question, sort of as artificial intelligence takes on more responsibility inside your clients' workflows, but also inside your own internal workflows. I mean, how do you see the relationship between human judgment and AI decision making and decision
Yeah.
support?
So I think you've touched upon something very interesting. We're very contrarian about this. We think that AI is going to replace humans. Like human judgment might be good, but you can't be smarter than an LLM. Hands off. The only difference that we see that differentiates people from LLMs in certain occasions is context and just domain knowledge. So if you fill up that gap, you can actually solve it. Even if there are human interactions, you know, AI is getting so good at conversations. There's no judgment. The communication is flawless. It can reiterate at scale. So we just believe that at the end of the day, it's going to be a complete replacement versus there's not going to be an assistant or a sidekick. It's going to be that employee who's going to take care of the stuff. Now, it's difficult to do, but that is what our bet is. And we don't think it's going to be an assistant level thing. Otherwise, there's no value. I don't see a lot of value if I'm paying $100,000 for a resource. And then on top of it, I'm also paying LLM or AI cost. And the value that I'm able to generate is only speed or productivity. Sure. But it doesn't have significant, we haven't seen significant impact on, say, cost or on revenue unless and until there's a replacement element to it.
A lot of people skirt around that very issue about the AI
Yeah.
replacing humans. Not very many people are willing to boldly say, "Yep, in the future, AI is going to replace jobs. That's just the way it is." Everyone's like, "No, it'll be fine. It's here to augment us." So I think to hear it from someone as yourself, it's quite refreshing, to be honest. I mean, I think the reality is this agentic AI space that we're in, it's only really in its infancy. And if you look at how
Yeah.
well it is performing in its
Yeah.
infancy, you can only imagine in 6, 9, 12 months' time what the space is going to look like.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think we are generating new sort of like roles. We are seeing like prompt engineering is becoming a huge, huge one. Context engineering is becoming a huge one. Strategic decision makers are becoming a critical piece of the puzzle, which is basically just observing and identifying, opportunities on an emotional level. But other than that, wherever there's repetition and where there's a process, we don't see this human judgment requirement as much, and we see that diminishing over time.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, as a result, you see new roles spring up that we foresee. We don't know what they're going to be at the moment, but that's what the bet is. 5, 6 years down the line, there's a lot of roles that will be redundant, but there will be new roles that will spring up.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think we're in a bit of a disconcerting space because I think, as we've established, the reality is that jobs are going to start disappearing, but we don't yet know what jobs are going to start appearing,
Yeah,
and it's just the
exactly.
nature of the world. A new technology
Yeah, yeah.
arrives, the old technology becomes redundant, and all of the jobs that go with it. But then the new
Yeah.
technology opens up a plethora of net new jobs.
Yeah, 100%. I think something to think about the world is, and I heard it from Jeff Bezos in one of his interviews, and he says that, we are always thinking about what is going to change in the next 10, 15 years, right? We never think about what is not going to change, right?
Mm.
Customers demand fast delivery, customers demand lower prices. There will never come a time where customers will say, I want to pay more for something, right? So even in the LLM space, we know what is going to disappear. Okay, we know which industries are at high risk. Okay, and everyone is pouncing on them, but we don't know what is going to spring up. So that is something, if people pay more attention to what will happen versus fixate on the danger part that that things are going to disappear, I think they're going to happen. Like that's a given whenever there's a new technological change. People need to start focusing more on what is next, what more roles are going to spring up, what more skill sets do we need. I think that's where if people start focusing more, then I think the fears just diminish.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I suppose just to close this topic off, I think it's a case of you either jump on the train and go along for the ride, or essentially you get left behind.
Yeah, I mean, I think the market is self-correcting, right? So employers, companies will start realizing that they have to get on the bandwagon. If not, they're going to get left behind. But majority of the people, I'm pretty sure they're understanding, they're very open to it, and people are upskilling themselves versus resisting this technology. And that is, like, I'm not too old to have been. I never went through the dot-com bubble and stuff like that, but the adoption rate of AI has been exceptional. And a lot of people, even like my parents, use ChatGPT, and they don't even know how to use a smartphone properly, right? And so they're talking to it. So we see voice becoming a really big interface for a lot of people. So the adoption is there. The adoption is definitely there.
So I'm quite keen to understand. I mean, you referred to some strategic decisions that you have made at Virtuans early in the conversation, but I mean, what are some of the strategic shifts or experiments that have shaped the company's growth so far?
I mean, there's been multiple things in terms of like growth, right? So when you say growth, do you want me to talk about like in terms of development within personnel, or is it like the revenue shift? Is there specific that you want me to dive into? Because there's a lot of things. Like growth is a very big umbrella term.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a fair question, and they're probably quite closely linked because as you grow your client base and your revenue, it allows you then to bring more team members on. So then you're growing internally as well. So they're very closely linked. So let's focus on growing out the client base and getting more clients on board. That then allows you to scale your team as well.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're focusing. So we're not a horizontal play, okay? Because I think the horizontal layer has a lot of competition. So for us, we're very verticalized, which basically means we know exactly who our client base is. So if we really want to grow our revenue, there's only two ways for us. Number one, the strategic decision is, do we offer the same product and go onboard a lot of customers? That's number one. The second strategic decision is, do we keep small amount of customers but expand their revenue? And what we learned, which is a big decision that we made, which is very unpopular uh, among my peers, to be really honest, which is we're trying to balance both. So we haven't really picked one. And the reason why we're doing it is we see the speed of development for us is immense. We're really fast in developing, which is why even if we have to do expansion revenue, we can we can do it really quickly. So that's the lever that we are pulling in terms of growth. The second thing is we are acquiring new customers. And in our case, the real estate industry, everyone is flooded online. Okay. Digital marketing, people get like LinkedIn messages, no one reads them anymore. People get cold calls, no one reads them anymore, specifically the real estate industry where there's a lot of communication going on. What we figured out was, hey, no one is doing outbound sales and field sales because people think field sales is expensive. So we don't want to do it anymore. But it turns out no one is doing field sales, which basically means it's empty. There's no competition there. And so we started just showing up in our customers' offices and just having a conversation with them. Now, if you go as a nice person in someone's office, they're going to give you a cup of coffee, they're going to sit down, they're going to listen to you. It's difficult to scale, but it's highly effective. Then once they're in, since our acquisition is a little bit expensive, we have to make sure that we expand from one use case to another use case to another use case and capture the entire value chain. So these are the two levers that we're thinking in terms of growth, in terms of new user acquisition, and then expanding the current user base. So these are the balance of where we're going to focus on. That was a huge strategic decision. It's a bet. It can backfire very easily, very, very easily. It's very risky, which is why we have to, there is an, which is why we've been hiring like forward deployed engineers. We've been hiring tele salespeople, right? The people who are like, they're completely fine going out and they don't like sitting behind a computer. They like going out and meeting people, kind of like networkers. So these are the two different resources that we're investing in, and these are the two channels that we have been able to unlock.
I suppose it's quite ironic that you are selling a product that essentially is removing the need for sales representatives within a company, but you're using an old school method of meet and greet,
Yeah.
knocking on doors, sitting in foyers, trying to meet people in person to sell that product.
Yeah, I think that's true because the problem is attention, right? So there's just so much content that we're bombarded with at the moment that attention is critical. Uh, when you're small, attention is all that matters. So we are trying anything in our arsenal to find white space in the industry and just getting it done. Honestly speaking, if I had a robot, I would hire that robot to go and like do it, but I don't have one. But I have these networkers that don't like technology that much, but they love talking to people and they understand technology. They're not using LinkedIn and they don't like doing emails and stuff because that's been outsourced. So I think yes, we are using humans where human connection matters. And we are able to do that at scale because AI is taking care of the manual admin work, which is emailing and initial contact and just making sure that pipeline is also running. So that the human salespeople are now not really salespeople, they're mainly connectors. That's what we call them in-house. Their job is to connect with more and more people, and then those connections eventually become customers. So you can actually see that we've rebranded the sales internally. We don't call them salespeople, it's just connectors for us. Which sounds like, I don't know, it sounds cringy, but it works for us. And yes, it's ironic, but it gets the results done.
Well, that's exactly what you want, right? Results. And now that you've explained it as you have, it obviously makes sense. They're just essentially the closers. They're everything's been done beforehand, and their
Yeah.
initiative is to meet and close essentially.
Yeah. They're just uh, people don't really realize that we've been sitting behind computers for such a long time that we've forgotten like human connection. And that's a weird insight in its own that we can tap
Mm.
into.
So you mentioned earlier in the conversation around innovation and that it's obviously moving very fast at the moment. It's probably moving a lot faster than adoption rates. I mean, how do you at Virtuans choose what not to pursue?
Yeah, that's a difficult question. I might not have a good answer to it, but we say no to a lot of things. Uh, our eventual decisions are guided by our North Star, right? What are we building at the end of the day, and why are we building it? So we understand the sales process within real estate, and we know we want to build an autonomous AI. Now, any new opportunity that comes in that does not help us pursue that goal, we don't pursue it.
Mm.
So setting that North Star of what we are trying to achieve and how quickly we want to accomplish it, does the new initiative that is coming in helps us speed the process, get to the finish line faster or not? If it's not there, then we don't pursue it. It's a straight up no. It doesn't end up in our priority board. It takes a position in the backlog. But if it does, then we start prioritizing it. And when we start prioritizing it, then we start thinking about what the return is that we are expecting. how much the usage is, how we're going to track it, how we're going to build it, how we're going to deploy it, and how we're going to ship it. That's how we do it right now.
Yeah, I mean, you said that you weren't sure you had a good answer for that question. I mean, that's a perfect answer. That's exactly what I
Yeah,
was looking for.
because yeah, it's I don't know, but that's what the internal understanding is. Yes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm quite interested to dive into sort of the we've spoken about client retention, but we've spoken about client acquisition. I'm interested to dive into client retention. I think automation is the
Yeah.
easy part, but sustained adoption is often the real test. How do you embed your agents into your client's day-to-day rhythm so
Yeah.
that the value compounds over time, essentially?
Yeah. I think the retention is the biggest piece of the entire puzzle. And acquisition is easy, but if you don't nail acquisition, you're still okay. But if you nail retention, that's when you actually grow. And retention is one of the biggest metric that we track in-house. Over the last 6 months, our churn has been zero. And there's two reasons for it. Number one, uh, we always have someone that is there for the customer. And we call these people forward deployed engineers. These are not salespeople, these are pure engineers that are customer facing. And there's just their role is a simple, they just have one metric, which is customer success. What is one metric that customer cares about? Is it qualified buyers? Are you increasing that metric for the customer or not? If not, what do you need to get done in order to achieve value for our customers? So that's what that role accomplishes for us. The second is we have seen that there's a big tool fatigue within organizations. Customers do not want more tools. Customers want a solution that fits in their current workflows. They don't have time to shift to new workflows. They already have a lot of things that is happening. So in order to retain them, we have to make sure that we fit into their workflows so that the resistance that we're going to get from IT, from finance, from legal, from data is as minimum as possible. And then secondly, how we embed these agents is we try to see what the workflow is going to look like, where the AI agents are going to sit, and what are the outcomes that they need to achieve. And then the forward deployed engineer from our side does the prompt engineering, handles the feature requests because they're looking at the entire technical architecture, and that also feeds into our product backlog and prioritization in order to get results for our customers. So by moving these levers, we try to make sure that we retain the customer, focusing on what the outcome is. So that there's only one metric that forward deployed engineer has, which is customer success. And what is that metric across multiple different customers that we have is qualified buyers. Are you increasing the number of qualified buyers better than their employees or not? It's as
Mm,
simple as that. If the answer is yes, wonderful. You're doing your job. Customer is also happy and customer expands, right? If you're not doing your job, it shows. The customer comes back. We're consistently in touch with our decision makers, and they're on our speed dial basically. Like if it's 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 2 a.m., they're gonna call us. We will be there. So that level of customer support, because we're small, right? So we can afford to give that level of customer support to our customers, and that just helps us retain them. Because if
mm,
we are good friends, you're gonna forgive me. If I'm not your friend, you're not gonna forgive me. You can forgive me once or twice, but then you're gonna churn anyways. And all we need is just the direction that there is forgiveness there, but let's not get to that point. So that is that is how we retain the customers. Yeah, but then there's one thing which is on the operational side, which is the business context. Because the implementation of these AI agents is you build it, you deploy it, and you're gone. That's not how things work. For example, in our scenario, conversation data and the market data are two critical data pieces that we use to inform how LLMs are going to talk to customers, and these are completely changing, right? So every single time there's a new edge case that comes in, so we have to build evals and simulations to make sure that the last 5%, which is the critical piece, is handled properly by the AI. If it's not, if you let it linger for a very long amount of time, customers eventually churn. And you want to embed yourself so deeply in their workflows that tomorrow, if some new competitor comes in, it just becomes so difficult to get rid of you because you are connected with their internal systems. You're connected with multiple cross departments. You have built these integrations and systems that are talking to each other, and you're directly impacting their bottom line. As long as that connection is there, no matter if a competition comes in with lower pricing, not gonna happen. They're not gonna risk it.
Mm.
If something is working really well, no one is willing to break it.
Yeah, I mean it's a very sound strategy, and obviously embedding yourself in a client's sort of workflows and workspace makes you rather sticky, therefore harder to
It does.
churn.
Because I think at the end of the day, when you're small, you can do these things, right? I know when we start scaling to, let's say, thousands of users, this approach will become expensive for us, very, very expensive for us. Then the solution will look different. But to start word of mouth at this stage in time, this is what is required. Because when we start hitting like 5,000 users, 10,000 users, then we can think about from a technological point of view what solution we can build to solve that problem. But right now, the retention is key for us. The more customers we retain, the more there is expansion revenue available for us. Because then we handle the entire value chain for them. And that is exactly what we're trying to do. So I'll give you an example. So our goal is to build an AI employee that sells real estate end to end without any human intervention. That's the end goal. Now, you have to break it down into a workflow. So the workflow is a customer comes in, the lead is engaged by the person, follows up, then there's scheduling of meeting, then there's an online meeting where you discuss multiple different options, then you finalize the ROIs. And since we deal mainly in off-plan properties, which basically means that they haven't been built yet, the entire process happens online. Then there's virtual viewing, then there's KYC, transaction, documentation, and payment, right? And all these aspects are handled by humans. So we know what the value chain looks like. So we embed AI agent in a single value chain, make sure the outcome is better than the employees. Boom, replace that part. Next step is okay, the AI needs to sit in a meeting, capture insights, do market research, get the best available property for the customer, generate those cash flow numbers, and then share it with the customer. The next step, the AI then follows up, shares the cash flow numbers, and convinces the client to make an offer. The client makes an offer, takes the documentation, fills out the form, submits it via API to the Dubai Land Department, gets approval, shares the bank account information, webhook hits, the agent knows that the payment has been made, SLA has been signed, transfer over the registry. So when you break them down, break the entire value chain down into multiple use cases and you start embedding. Now, if we are at step number 5 out of step number 10, and someone is selling step number 1, no company is going to get rid of us
Mm.
because we're not just handling step number 1. We're very deep into their entire workflow. And that's what the key to retention is, which is get as deeper into their workflows as possible so they can't get rid of you. It's very difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the way that you've explained it and plotted it out makes complete sense. I absolutely love the approach, and I think it's a very forward-thinking outlook on the potential that agentic AI has. I mean, I'd imagine that you obviously keeping your finger on that agentic AI space. It's naturally getting quite crowded right now. I mean, how do you read the market?
Yeah, I mean that's what my entire point is, that how do you differentiate, right? The differentiation is going to happen with a verticalized solution, not another tool. So the tools are great, but I think over time their margins are going to deplete because anyone can build anything now. But then building these connections within multiple workflows and optimizing for outcomes, that becomes difficult. And that is the space where we see value, which is why we're very verticalized, which is why we're owning the entire value chain within a specific industry. And even within that specific industry, we're not doing all property sales, we're doing only off plan that we know can be accomplished end to end online, and we can use AI to do that. So, and these big players are not going to go that niche, which is what will help you develop that more. And then we are also the use case that we have picked. There's one thing that a lot of people, and this is a very old problem, by the way, which is data, right? I still remember back in 2017, 2018, big data was a huge thing, right? And big data is still a huge thing because people still don't know how to generate insights from their data, despite all the tools there. With AI, now it's possible to identify trends and generate signals that can help you. So, for example, we deal with conversation data directly with the customers. Now, one of our customers, uh, their initial property budget range was about $50,000. Anything below $50,000, they don't deal with it. So they started a marketing campaign that brought in about 200 people that had a budget range of between 25,000 to $30,000. And after having the conversation and reading the conversations with them, the AI was able to identify that these guys are very high qualified buyers. Their budget is a little lower, but these guys are ready to buy. So we went back to the developer and said, hey, can we get something for these guys? It doesn't have to exist today. Can you just create like an offer, a product that we can actually sell them within the same project that you're currently running? And we did that in 45 minutes. The CEO was like, I don't think this is going to happen, but take a shot. And out of those 200, we got 30 people to actually buy. And now that would not have happened before because everything is so spread out, right? So this is the example of how deeper you have to go. And now this is not something that, let's say, tomorrow some other guy come in and will solve because you need very deep context. And this is when I mentioned the context piece, which is what makes humans irreplaceable in certain aspects. That's the context piece because they understand the dynamics and the context much better. And you have to feed that. If you don't feed that into an LLM, it's not going to work. So that is the piece that we see. The deeper you are, the space doesn't matter at the end of the day. We don't think it will matter at the end of the day.
Yeah, super interesting. And so, as you look ahead, I mean, are you hedging all your bets on just this real estate opportunity, or are there other markets or other industries that you feel like you could replicate a similar model, obviously with a little bit of tweaking, but be able to attack other specific industries and sectors?
Yeah, I think we're thinking about it, but uh, what we have realized is that in this, the new technology being industry specific is a much better bet
Mm,
versus going multi-industry. Of course, we can, but the question is, should we? If we are trying to build a business with a massive moat, then multiple industries won't really make sense for us. And secondly, real estate, if you think about real estate is a very high value transaction industry. Good times, bad times, real estate sells. Everyone wants eventually, especially in the region that we are operating in. When we are kids, we are taught about like investing in real estate. Gold and real estate, these are two places where every Middle Eastern, every Pakistani is going to invest their entire life savings into. So that's a dynamic industry, right? And that dynamic industry is beautiful because it has numbers, it has connections, it's very dynamic. So we love that. We love this industry, which is why I think for the time being we're going to stick to it. But then again, I think if we ever decide to go into some other industry, it's going to be property management, but that falls under the entire real estate portfolio management umbrella,
mm,
which is another huge $1 trillion space.
mm. And if we look, or let me say it this way, if uh, we were to have a conversation in 18 months' time, what do you hope you'd be able to say about the journey from now till then?
Yeah, in 18 months, I hope we're able to share our AI with you that can actually help you find your dream home or your dream and property investment. That's what the target is for 18 months at least. Have that. So we think of it as like Tesla has this full self-driving, right? So they have level one, level two, level three self-driving, right? We want to get to at least level two. autonomous AI workers. So in 18 months, if we're able to accomplish that, that is something that we'll be really happy about, because that will help with two things. Number one, the model works. That will be a validation. Secondly, now we can open it up because we have all these customers, all these real-time properties. Now we can open it up to more people and just talk to the AI, and then AI will go back, find the best property for you. And that would just, I think that would just really recreate the entire buying process as well. So in 18 months, if I'm able to share something like this with you, just consider it to be that Raheel had a really good Virtuals AI had a really good 18 months, I can say.
It's clear that there's a lot of exciting opportunities on the horizon for you. It's been a really interesting conversation. This, if our
Yeah.
listeners and viewers wanted to reach out to you and the team, where's the best place for them to connect?
I think we're very active on LinkedIn. Uh, and more active on LinkedIn, we're active on email. So just send me a message at raheel@virtuans.ai. I try to reply. My AI does, at least the initial conversations. So that's where we can connect.
Excellent, Raheel. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. Like I said, it's
Lawrence.
been a super interesting conversation, obviously giving us a look into Virtuans AI and, as a company and what your aspirations are, but also giving us a couple of more philosophical insights into agentic AI and the sort of artificial
Yeah.
intelligence space as well. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I hope this was helpful because my only goal was to share what we have learned and what we are doing. And if people find inspiration in that and insights in that, I think it was worth the time.
That's it for today's episode of the Aegance Offscript Podcast. If this conversation sparked something, a thought, a question, or a new way of seeing your own business, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below. We'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.